All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this. It is Meet the Pressers Riding Shotgun with Charlie, live from the SHOT Show 2025, and we are at the Otis Technologies booth. How's the show going for ya?
Crazy.
I know, right?
How many interviews have you done?
All of them.
Ah,
I know I'm going to go home and people are going to be like, did you see this? No. Did you see this? No. Did you see this?
I'm like,
no.
I can't get on the floor.
Right. What are some new products? I don't know. I'm putting out 1,400 shows. That's what I'm putting out.
Yeah. I'm $13.99, so I think you're doing better than me.
Well, this is what I try to do. Anyway, today we have with us John Crump, an investigative journalist.
Yep, that's me.
I love that. That sounds
Very
like
cool.
It sounds awesome. What's exciting? What's new? You're always involved in all the high-end stuff that goes on.
Yeah, I am. I like rattling cages and making trouble for people that want to take our rights away.
Amen to that.
I figured it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a good hobby to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Becoming a target, though.
Well, you have two choices. You can either be a little target or a big target. And if you're a big target, they usually stay away from you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So you either make a lot of noise or no noise. If you make a little noise, then that's when they come after
That's
you.
when they squelch you.
Yeah.
And that's valid. That's valid. So what
What's some noise you're making?
yeah, I was kind of going that way.
Well, you guys see what the ATF did with their DEI people?
Oh my gosh.
They made them self-identify as something else.
They self-identify as something else, even though they said specifically in the order, do not do that.
Wow.
So they basically disregarded an executive order, right off the bat.
Nice. You know what that means?
Someone's in a lot of trouble.
Maybe that'll be a good reason to disband.
I would love to see the ATF disband.
If you want to see the ATF disband, go ahead and comment, like, share, and subscribe right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I would love to see them being disbanded. But yeah, they talked about a few different things here. Some that might violate certain court orders.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you have to wait for my article to come out on that one.
Oh, you're not going to drop any good tidbits here? A little bit?
Yeah, they might be planning to violate a certain court order by reinterpreting it to fit.
Always.
This reinterpreting stuff is nonsense. You can't go back and change the definition of something. But this is honestly, without getting into things that aren't gun related,
Right.
When you can redefine what a man is or what a woman is, then you can redefine what anything is. And the people that are people know what it really is. You know what I mean?
Listen, I want to redefine what poor is. I want to be rich. Can that just happen by me?
Right. It should happen that way.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
Even this is the wild one to me. Even what's his name? Pierce
Morgan.
Pierce Morgan. Thank you. I was going to say Bronson, but that's the wrong one. He was even talking with some women, and he's like, well, if a woman can identify as a man, he identified as a black woman, and they just laughed at him. And he's like, what are you talking about? How come I can't do this?
Yeah.
How come I can't change my identity?
It's lunacy.
It is.
In some sense, there's some people in the industry that we care about, but in some sense, I think it is a mental disorder. Like you have to have some trauma in your background that you think that's reason that makes sense, right? Right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, we're kind of putting it out there. In my mind, it's like, and when you talk to people who have, that have had trauma in the background. I was talking to one of the guests, I can't remember who it was earlier, but I was talking to somebody, and they were saying that they had trauma when they were a kid, and that makes them not like law enforcement today. Another person said they had trauma when they were a kid, and that made them eat a lot in high school.
Right.
Zeke Stout. We had Zeke.
Zeke
was saying that he
was bullied as a kid.
in school. Right. And that made him, that shaped his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So things that we go through as kids and even as adults could shape how we identify. Maybe. Right. Trauma. It's just a different type of trauma. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you're right there. I think you're exactly right on that.
So the ATF wants different people to identify as something they're not, or guns to identify as something they're not, or why doesn't the ATF identify that they need to mind their own business?
Why don't they identify that they need not to exist?
Right.
Yeah, they're out of business. So with everything that's going on, well, first off, what do you think about the ATF? I shouldn't have started that way. Do you believe the ATF is going to be disbanded?
I would love to see them disbanded, and there's a bill to disband them, but honestly, I don't see it happening anytime soon. It might happen eventually, but I don't see it happening like with this bill,
Right.
even though it's good.
Better
too. Yeah. Even
ready? Do you believe the ATF should be disbanded? We're in agreement.
I was wondering what you're trying to hand me there. Like, what are you trying to grab there?
Man, it's a little hot here in the studio today. Woo.
Sorry, go ahead. I mean,
No, but it's good to bring awareness, and it's good for people to call for the ATF to be disbanded. AG Bailey from Missouri and the AG's meeting yesterday called for the ATF to be disbanded, and there are people in Congress that want to disband the ATF. It just takes a lot of willpower and a lot of support to get that done, and that's not going to be done overnight.
Right.
It's going to take a while.
Yes.
But I believe that it one day might happen, but it's not going to be like this year or next year.
Right.
But we need to keep on pushing for that until it finally does happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's if the ATF does actually get disbanded, then I think the IRS is next.
Yeah.
I think the IRS might be first. Everybody asks who likes the IRS. Nobody ever reads. Yeah.
I don't know. Oh.
Don't like the IRS, right?
Well, I thought this was yes. Never mind. I don't like the IRS.
Boo to the IRS.
Right, we're not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just these agencies have gone rogue, right? They're pushing their will on the American people. They're making it hard for people that just want to do the right thing, that will comply with whatever they throw at us, just because we don't want to be lawbreakers.
In trouble. Right.
Exactly. And yet they're spending all that time focusing on us when they're not focusing on the actual criminals. They're letting criminals beat cops up in New York City and then giving them a ride to California. It's like, seriously? Oh, by the way, the ones that came over the border illegally. So it's
well, it's very interesting. You gotta look. There's certain people in Congress that voted not to deport people that were guilty of SA from down below the border, that like snuck across the border.
Yep.
Well, we can't deport those people. They have the right to be here.
No, they don't.
No, they don't have the right to be
not.
here.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the right to stay in their own country and come in here the legal way if they want to come in here. Tom and Holman's going to be. I mean, have you heard anything recently on what's going on with that? Because I know he said first day start.
Well, they're doing a big raid in Boston right now as we speak.
Great, and I'll tell you, coming from Massachusetts, it's an easy target. I've heard people say that they went through Logan Airport, and the illegal aliens are just camped out and sleeping on the floor at the airport.
Round them up, cattle cars like they had in the Army when I was back in the day.
And I know of a number of different hotels, and even including one in my hometown that last summer was full of illegal aliens. Like, there's no one ever at this, no-tell motel kind of a place, and then all of a sudden it's packed all the time.
I think a good analogy that I'm thinking of that just popped in my head. You have looting, right? Mm-hmm. Looting usually comes after riots or some natural disaster like the fires in California or whatnot. And that would be the equivalent of somebody, standing there oh, yeah, go in here. And they're just pointing to this open store. And people are like, oh, okay, it's good. Everybody's doing it. Somebody's telling me we can do it. And they go in and they grab stuff and they run out. It's illegal. And if you're caught, then you should be held to the highest part of the law. But what's the difference with that? You got a senile guy at the top level saying, yeah, come on in. The borders are open. It's insane.
Right.
And yet people that come in, we're supposed to feel sorry for. No. The president said you can come in. It's against the law. Everybody in the country doesn't believe that way. So maybe you should err on the side of caution and be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go through the ports the normal way.
All right. We have a pathway to citizenship. It's long and expensive.
It is. Yeah. It is. Absolutely.
Anyway,
and that's unfortunate.
We need to let John talk.
Oh,
that's all right.
John. Yeah,
He's our guest.
here. You were here.
Well,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Being my in-laws are immigrants and they came in legally, it's really insane that people can sneak across the border and they should automatically become citizens or whatever. For example, my wife's cousin is a PhD from Italy.
Wow.
And she wants to come to the United States but cannot get a visa to come to the United States because of illegals that are jumping in line.
Because I talk.
That's not fair. We hear all these people that, you can't do that. That's not fair. We have people that are doing things the right way, the legal way. I hate saying paying all the fees. Not that it should be expensive,
Right.
but they're doing things the right way, and now they're gonna people that aren't doing it the right way are jumping the line.
So you've got a legal way to come into the country, and instead of them working on fixing that, what do? They just open the borders.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem fair. It seemed, and then all the people that were doing the legal way just basically wasted all their time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the gun industry, right? It's like, well, we just don't want people to have guns, so we're gonna put no gun signs up. We're gonna take guns away from legal people instead of cracking down on crime.
Right.
Let's focus on the people, good people.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, and it's not fair to people that want to do it the right way.
No.
But I think it's being done that way is because they want to change the demographic. They want to change the voting demographic.
Absolutely, that's clear.
They don't want people in here that's going to vote Republican. They want people to vote Democrat.
Well,
Right.
stacking the court and everything else. Well, we're pretty much beating a dead horse because all of our viewers and listeners, all the 2 million of them right now, they're on the same boat as us, the same mindset. So
Yep.
let's talk about what is out there, things you've reported on that literally are helping to beat back this mindset, the negative side of gun ownership and self-defense and what.
Well, some of the stuff that I report on is just shining a light on what is going on, because the best disinfectant is light.
Yep.
So if you shine a light on it, it will change stuff. Like, for example, GOA, recently released a letter that they got where they said, oh, we know that there's an injunction against the pistol brace rule, but we're not going to enforce the rule, but we're going to enforce our interpretation of the statute, which is identical to the rule. And that was shown, and the ATF had to walk that back.
Yeah.
If you highlight what is going on, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, our bad. But if that stuff doesn't get out there, they will use that to the fullest extent.
So being a current police officer in New York State and being in law enforcement for over 10 years in total, I always say in my classes to my civilian students, the law is written very vague, so that for two reasons. One, so it can stand the test of time, so they don't have to recreate it or tweak it, and two, so that it can be used whoever's trying to wield it. Right?
Yeah,
It's
for
very
sure.
vague so that they can wield it and direct it the way they want to do it. So that is lawfare.
It
in
is
some
definitely
sense, right? I
lawfare.
mean, use the law to your advantage to get a bad guy, but then when you're using that in a bad way against good people or people that maybe just weren't educated, didn't know better, ignorance of the law is not a defense. That's true, but there is a portion of law enforcement that should be educating people on the law.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, I definitely do agree. And even when the law isn't vague at all, they still will claim it's vague to interpret it the way they want to interpret it. Like with bump stocks, for example, even though that got overturned at the Supreme Court,
Yep.
They're like, oh, this law is not really clear. Even though it was a statute, the statute had a direct definition of what a machine gun is.
Right.
They're like, oh, that's not clear. It's like, yes, it is. That's
So let me see. When you press the trigger and the gun goes bang more than once, is that not clear?
yeah,
Pretty clear to me.
Right.
single function of a trigger. That's what it says.
I love those things that go rat tat 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 tat. So Chevron deference then, because if the Supreme Court ruled on it, ATF's supposed to walk it back. They kind of shifted gears and reinterpreted it differently. How does the Chevron deference come into place with that? With them not being able to enact edicts and different interpretations, they're supposed to follow the law almost to the T.
Okay, let's start with Chevron deference. What that is? That basically says if a statute is vague or unclear, it falls to the regulatory agency to determine what that means, and the regulatory agency has that power. The courts don't have that power.
Okay.
By the Loper Wright cases, what I think Loper Wright Enterprises, that took away Chevron. So they can still interpret the law whether they want, but you can sue, and the courts can say, no, you're wrong. That's not what it says. Instead of default judgment for
Gotcha.
the agency.
So it gives them more. They're supposed to stay away from it in the sense like, okay, you can still interpret it, but if you interpret it, a higher court's going to be able to come in and decide. It's
Yeah,
it's not an ultimate. You can't interpret it differently because they still have to interpret
Correct.
it to an extent.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Good.
Yeah, it gives a legal pathway of knocking down a statute if they interpret it in a way that's not constitutional. And with Chevron deference, they were definitely abusing the hell out of that.
Yeah.
With
Right.
like going back to bump stocks, single function of the trigger. So they interpreted the trigger to be any part of the gun that they wanted, including the stock, which is not what the trigger is.
No,
Right.
You know, we go back to our earlier conversation. They're interpreting a woman to be whatever they want to be. So.
Right.
Exactly.
In the new law, Chapter 135 that we have in Massachusetts, they've changed the definition. Speaking of changing things, they changed the definition of a handguard to a barrel shroud.
New York State has that too with the CCA, the 2013 SAFE Act. Yeah, they call it a shroud that encases the barrel or something is what they called it. So I bet you Massachusetts got it from New York.
Probably. But I mean, here's how do you hold the rifle if you take the handguard off?
Right.
Now you're turning your rifle into a long-barreled handgun that you have to hold with one hand to shoot. Like I always told people, I said, if you don't put the handguard on here, you have to have a tactical oven mitt in order to hold the rifle.
So you sell them without the handguard, and you hand to sell a tactical oven mitt with every gun.
Right.
I like it. That's way around the law.
Well, they actually do sell tactical oven mitts.
Cool. I don't think I've ever seen
Which
one.
are they?
Tactical oven mitt.
There's several different companies that are selling it as a way around that.
Really? See, but that's ingenuity. That's like, this law is stupid. Let's find a way to do the same thing.
Right. What's the difference between a muzzle brake and a flash hider? Let's see. One's got a big hole, one's got a small hole. And the people say to me, "What's the difference?" I said, "Nothing. Doesn't change anything. It even hides the muzzle. It doesn't hide the muzzle flash. Doesn't make it disappear. Makes it a little bit less. But it. But I always tell them, anti-gun folks make the gun laws, and they don't know what any of this stuff is.
Well, you guys know where the NFA registration for SBRs and SBSs come from, right?
The NFA registration?
Yeah, like why SBSs and SBRs are part of the NFA.
Yeah, it was 1934, right?
Yeah, but you know why?
I remember reading it. Hang on. Nah, it'll take too long. Go ahead.
Okay, so the original purpose of the NFA, one of the things they wanted to ban was handguns.
Yes.
And they saw that people might use SBRs, short barrel rifles, and short barrel shotguns to get around the handgun ban that was coming out. The handgun portion was negotiated out of the NFA, but they left in SBSs and SBRs, which was supposed to close the loophole. So instead of closing a loophole, what it did was create new regulation.
They reinterpreted it.
When I go into it in classes in New York State and tell people, oh yeah, well, if you throw a barrel less than 16 inches on it, now it's an SBR, that's a federal felony. And if it's select fire, now it's a machine gun, and you got to have paper for that, that's felony. And if you remove the buttstock, though, then now you got a tube and buffer tubes, and now it's a pistol, so you got to register it and put it on your pistol license in New York State. And they're like, I know if you shoulder it, and that's another felony, federal felony. We're like,
well, it's like this. If you put a handguard, or like a front handguard on there, and it's at a 89-degree angle, that's not a felony. You move it by 1 degree, 10 years in prison.
It's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable, and it's all confusing. People can't have a hard time figuring it out
by design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Firearms Unknown did a cartoon a while ago where it was like showing pistol, felony, and it was like, and the guy's like, what's the difference? I don't see any difference.
That's funny.
He's like, there is a difference. What's the difference? One is a felony. One is not.
That is insane.
So what other articles have you written that kind of got some good publicity based on bringing the light to the topic at hand?
Well, I did do an article that just came out a couple days ago about the default head of the ATF right now, Marvin Richardson. Marvin Richardson is the default head of the ATF since Dettelbach stepped down.
Yep.
And here's the thing about Marvin Richardson. If you like pistol braces, he was the driving force behind banning pistol braces. When they met with the Biden transition team, which that's another story because I really made them mad about that.
Wait, can we call it something besides the Biden transition team?
Well,
is there a?
I'll get to that story in a second.
BTT.
Well, he's the one who pushed for the banning of braced pistols and the reclassification of unfinished frames and receivers. when he had the meeting with the Biden transition team, my source inside took a picture of him talking with them when Regina Lombardo, who used to be the acting head of the ATF, talking with the Biden transition team. So I wrote an article back in the day when Biden was coming into office, outlining exactly what they were talking about, and I used the picture that was sent to me as like the cover picture for the article.
Nice.
So when they got out of there, because he was texting me as it was going along, I had the article up and written, and apparently Richardson did not like that too much.
Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, it's
when you stir it up, you stir it up.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be the target that John Crump is, but I will.
No.
But that's a good point too. With that, like you were saying earlier, you got to be a target.
Well, when they tried to gag me before, they tried to do a gag order on me.
That was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, and
does not sound fun.
We beat. That was funny. It was fun because we beat them. And
it's funny to you because you're like, bring it on. Me, I'd be like, ugh.
Right. Now what?
Right. Like, it's over.
John's
like, this is every day for me.
Day in the light. This is Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but they try to gag me, and they try to gag my producer of my podcast too, to prevent him from talking.
Wow.
First Amendment. I guess they don't believe in that.
Yeah, well, they lost what they thought. They tried to do what's called an ex parte hearing with us not involved there, but I have really good lawyers.
They do.
And they saw it, and they let me know. And GOA stepped in, and they paid for like 5 lawyers to fly down to Florida where they were doing it at. And they showed up, did a motion to intervene, and they were not expecting that. So they bounced.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So send them to GOA, right? Become a member of the GOA. Is that a plug for the GOA?
Yeah, they helped me out a lot.
Nice.
GOA, and all the other organizations.
All the
Second
other
Amendment Foundation.
Yeah, Second Amendment Foundation is great. FPC is great. GOA is great.
Even the NRA, ILA, and New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, which brought the Bruin decision, which is giving us now 7 years it took to get there. So we got to remember that, and that's a long, lengthy expense, time and money spent to keep that going through the courts and keep it on the top of the docket for it to be able to get a hearing.
Yeah, these organizations do a lot. I think the most important organization for everyone out there is going to be different for each person because usually the most important organization is the local organizations.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm in Virginia, so VCDL.
Yep.
I'm a member of VCDL. I'm also a member of like the Tennessee Firearms Association, Dan McCary, because these local organizations are just as important, or if not more important, than the national organization.
Yeah, I guess that's because they're boots on the ground, right? They're there. They know they're going to hear it firsthand from people on a day-to-day basis. Where the national organizations are spread thin and they're all over the country and they're trying to look at the federal stuff. Well, a lot of times this stuff doesn't get the federal until it's started.
Right. It's got to get through the state before it comes federal.
And a lot of the state organizations work with the national organizations as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You got a fan here, Crump.
Frag Out. Yeah. Frag Out makes it like he is a true artist. He does like gun art type stuff, like
nice
laser work and everything else. But he also designed skateboards for Tony Hawk and
really,
and cool. Album covers for Ice Cube.
No way. Wow. That's pretty diverse.
That's
pretty diverse.
Very, very talented.
So that his tagline could be guns, ice cubes, and skateboards. No, wait, guns.
So. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, he does insane work.
I'm punchy today, Charlie.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. Just a tad.
Just a bit.
Sorry, you still love me.
Where do you put all your content?
Different places.
Yeah.
AmmlLand is where I do all my writing at. Most of my writing is over at AmmlLand.com, which is my really in-depth journalism, like no like opinion, like just hard facts,
like Joe Friday stuff.
Yeah,
just the facts.
Like hard facts investigations, really in-depth investigations.
Yeah.
And then I have my YouTube channel, John Crump News, where it's still the news, but it's a little bit more opinionated.
Gotcha.
And I have a John Crump Live, which is my podcast.
Is it podcast form? I know you guys do stuff on YouTube. I get the notifications.
All of the above. Podcast form, audio only.
Very cool. Very cool. What else do you have going? How much time do we have left? We got a couple minutes?
Yep.
We got a few minutes.
Talk about where people can, what he's got going on next. We already talked about where, what he's, how to find him, stalk him.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stories being researched right now.
Cool.
Unfortunately, I'll research about 90% of the stories I research go nowhere because I get a lot of tips that turn out to be
Bogus.
Yeah. So it's filtering out that. I got a few tips that seem to be right on the money. I'm also going to write up something. This is new information here, but I'm going to write up one of my sources that I was using at the ATF. He got busted for leaking information.
Oh.
He's ready to put his story out there.
Tell us about it. Tell us about the leaking information.
A little bit more.
Yeah,
Leak some information about the leaking information.
Well, he was leaking information to me because he's a constitutionalist. He's like, hey, this is unconstitutional. This is what they're planning on doing. So he is ready for his story to come out, why he did it and everything else. So I'm going to be doing a coverage of that. So everyone can see why he did it, because he didn't do it for money or anything else. He didn't get any money for it. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. The public had the right to know about some illegal stuff that was going on at the ATF.
That's it. People got to speak up, right? First Amendment. Second Amendment is not protected unless we use the First Amendment to protect it.
Exactly.
Right. So, super.
Absolutely.
John Crump.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure, man. Now I know. I got your cell number. I'm going to be texting you. I got a tip.
Right.
Yeah.
Super.
Anytime.
All right, everybody. Stay tuned. We got Ken Campbell coming up next, and we're going to put a little commercial break here while we change over.
Gonna do a commercial.
Well, hello, everybody.
All right. They're going to see a little of the...
That's all right. You see behind-the-scenes stuff.
Right.
This is usually Patreon.
There we go.
level
Patreon
stuff here.
Or only,
Sacred stuff.
Or
Yeah.
OnlyFans. It's a fine line.
Oh, no. Or feet
I heard
fans.
that about you.
Whatever you heard about me is probably true. Oh. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this segment of Meet the Pressers Riding Shotgun with Charlie live shows from the Otis booth at the SHOT Show 2025. And right now we have with us Ken Campbell from Gunsite.
Appreciate being here, Charlie. I really wanted to do that, riding with Charlie, and I wanted a golf cart with a V-plow blade on it going through the crowds.
Whoa. That sounds
so
cool.
next year we have a plan.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So we need some sponsorships to help us get the golf cart. And I don't know if the NSSF will let me drive around, but I think if I get them on board, maybe they'd be for it.
All right.
I'd be up for that. That'd be fun. So I want to talk all things Gunsite. I'm a huge Jeff Cooper fan. This is how bad it is. When I first became a gun guy, I had a Smith & Wesson Model 19, 6-inch barrel, 357 revolver with a big, huge grip.
Oh, yeah.
Being tactically frugal, I wanted a 357 that I could shoot 38s out of rather than a 44 because I wanted something that looked very dirty, hairy.
For sure.
And I was searching my local libraries, and I found Jeff Cooper's The Complete Book of Modern Handgunning. And I was like, this is great.
That's
and
awesome.
I like looking at all the old guns because it doesn't interest me, but I liked all the training aspects.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the thing. Like he was an instructor. He's got the color codes of awareness, the 4 safety rules. And I was just like, man, this is the stuff.
This guy must know something.
Right.
I'm sitting here just thinking to myself, we're sitting here with an OG in the industry.
I know.
Like I just met him. Like
You
never
just-
never
An
met him.
OG. Oh,
Right?
my gosh.
I've trained with Mossad. You've trained with Mossad. Trained with Tom Givens. And,
Me too.
had Larry Vickers, which he's the cousin OG, I guess, a little bit younger, but I mean,
He's been out to Gunsite multiple times.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. I'm
Well,
glad to.
You guys don't understand when I get invited into things like this, the honor to be me too. If you'd have told me when I took my first Gunsite 250 class in 1990 that in 2014 I'd be the CEO, I'd have said, "You're high." I don't know what you've been drinking, but I want some.
Right.
But now I'm rubbing elbows with guys like you and knowing people in the industry and steering the glacier of keeping good Americans alive
Amen
and
to that.
keeping Jeff Cooper's legacy alive.
That's important. That's absolutely important.
This is how bad it is for me. I found a copy of the Complete Book of Modern Handgunning. I bought it on an eBay or something. I actually thought about stealing it from the library and thought it would be easier just to steal the copy and give them money. Be like, oh, I lost it. Here's $25. So I found one. Then about a year a little over a year ago, there was a huge. I hate telling people my secrets. There was a huge sale on all of the books on the Gunsite
At
website.
the Gunsite Pro Shop, yeah.
I spent $35 on the Art of the Rifle, and then I bought 4 other books that were $1 each. And I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Probably the gargantuan Gunsite Gossip series.
There was one that was this thick.
Yep.
There was one that was this thick,
Yep.
and one that was this thick.
Yep.
I have a stack of Cooper books this high on my shelf. It's crazy.
Now, the gargantuan Gunsite Gossip books are great because Jeff wrote for decades the back page of Guns and Ammo magazine.
Yeah.
Right? It was called Cooper's Commentaries.
Yep.
Nice.
Excuse me. I'm just finishing up a cold.
Oh.
I got SHOT Show credit early.
All right. Well, it's awful.
So, in that book, get you a little pad of sticky notes because as you read through there, there's things on scout rifle, on what to do to a shotgun, the history of the Baker flag. Why is it a red pennant? And the history behind it. And it's cool to write that on there and stick it on the page so now it becomes a reference book.
Yeah.
So,
pretty cool.
It's full of neat stuff.
That's cool. I want to tell you this. I don't know if you know this. I got to interview Paul Kirchner a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was
Talk
great.
about another Gunsite guy.
So this was the story with him, and then we will get to talking about Gunsite.
Sure.
But I'd always tried to keep an eye out for the oh my gosh, who's the guy from New York City? Stakeouts.
Jim Cirillo. Yeah.
Jim Cirillo, yes.
Yeah, his book,
Tales from the Stakeout Squad.
Yeah.
Every time I'd see this on eBay or Amazon, it's $200, $250, $225. I was like, this is nuts. I'm not paying for this. I'm tactically frugal, right?
Yeah.
I found some on. I'm telling anyone this. I shouldn't be blowing this. I found some on Gunbroker. Somebody was selling it for $25. So before I bought it, I reached out to him and I said, hey, is this a PDF of the book? Is this like, how is this only $25?
Right.
And the guy wrote back to me. He's like, well, I try to limit how many copies get out there because some of the things that are content in the book. So I wrote back and he says, signed Paul. And I'm like, I wrote back to him. I'm like, are you Paul the author? And he's like, I am. I wrote the book. And I was like, I need to have you on my show. Here's what I am. Here's what I do. And then I find out he did all the artwork.
He sure did. All those little gnomes and
yes,
sure did. I'm a retired county sheriff. My first election campaign, he did some of the artwork for my campaign.
Oh my gosh.
For the T-shirts,
That's
for the
awesome.
fundraisers and things like. Paul's just a great guy, and his books are excellent.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So what did he have? The Deadliest Men 1 and 2, and then he had some other books, but he had some. Oh God, comic books aren't the right word. Graphic novels. Who cares? He's an amazing artist. That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
so,
he is.
anyway.
Sure.
Okay, I'm done.
So you mentioned county sheriff. I'm current law enforcement, part-time law enforcement in upstate New York. Do road patrol, chief of a small town as well. At Gunsite and what you guys offer there, is it like you have a percentage of like 95% is civilian, 5% is law enforcement?
I'll tell you a lot, and thanks for your service.
No, thanks for yours.
A lot of folks think that the majority of our business is military and law enforcement, and we're very proud of it. Everything from a little bitty department where that officer, that deputy, has saved nickels, dimes, and if you're old enough to remember, deposit on soda bottles, right?
Yeah.
So they could come out to Gunsite too.
Right.
The FBI Quantico HRT's been. So, and we're very proud. We get soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, coasties that are paying their own way. What we also get the SOCOM folks. But our bread and butter is you. Earth people is what I call it. Right? Our bread and butter is Earth people, and that's probably 80 or 90% of our business.
Okay.
And we keep good Americans alive. I mean, we've got a fancy mission statement, but to me, we keep good Americans alive.
Well, that's a good submission statement, right?
And I'll tell you, and this sounds real. If it sounds, I'm making a disparaging comment about law enforcement. I'm not. But I spent 35 years on the job. I earned my right.
Yeah.
The training you get at Gunsite is better than what 95% of law enforcement gets.
I concur.
Because we have the resources available.
Yeah.
And departments are sometimes constrained by lack of leadership.
Yep.
By budgets.
Funding.
They just won't let them do it.
Yep.
So you can come to gun camp, and we focus 5 full days, and you get live fire shoot houses, you get outdoor simulators, you get night shoots, and so on. So that's a real problem. And I'll share a great story, and it has nothing to do with a gun.
Okay.
A lot of our classes have a medical component. And just a couple of months ago, one of the young men that's on Chino Valley Police Department, which is right there by Gunsite. Mm-hmm. He used to be one of our high school barn help. We call them barn rats. And it's not a mean term. It's a loving term.
Yeah.
He was one of those, went to work for a factory. Then he got a job on Chino PD, and he had just completed our Tactical Concealed Carry Pistol 2 class, which has a medical component. I just ran into our instructor, Dr. Steve Tamerlan, who teaches it. Mm-hmm. He teaches this. So Sean gets this call. He goes out to support the county. Yep. County deputies are far away, so he goes out there. A gentleman had shot himself. Sean got there, put chest shields on the front and back. Yep. 13 minutes later, fire EMS arrives, and basically they said, well, okay, we'll transport now.
Right.
Saved the guy's life, and he got an award by the city council. We are so proud of Sean, and that's what it's about. Not everything is this.
Right.
It's the other knowledge. So we do a lot of good things.
That's good. Yeah, I always say that, if you're carrying a portable hole puncher, you probably should know how to patch those holes.
Plug the holes.
Exactly.
I've got my IFAC right here in the bag I carry around.
And mine right on my ankle.
It's I don't care where I am, I got one.
Right.
You guys are better people than me. I got nothing. I got you, and I got you.
That's like saying, I got full auto at the house. So I'm coming to your house. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
After I became a gun guy, and you start to store ammo and buy some extra water here and there and some canned goods, and people are like, oh my God, if something bad happens, I'm coming to your house.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, if you don't have something we can use, you're food. Like I have my Sweet Baby Ray's, right?
Yeah, you're my guard dog's food.
Right.
Like I will right. I got goats. I got hogs, and
if you have nothing you can do to help us out.
Yeah, it's got to be
I understand.
Part of society. You got to be when society's gone to shit, you got to be the one that helps bring it back.
Now, usually when I do this, I pat him on the stomach and I say, "You need to fatten up."
Yeah, that's quite a food blister you got there.
I like that.
You need to fatten
up. Come to your house.
Yeah,
you need to fatten up.
You need to fatten up because we're going to eat you. Okay?
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyway.
Let me tell you another great Gunsite story.
Okay.
That again, people know we're the world's oldest and largest privately owned firearms training academy. This is our 49th year of business.
Okay.
And 2026 is going to be the big party at the Gunsite alumni shoot in October at 50 years. But again, going back to it's not all about the guns. It's this. Jeff Cooper taught mindset and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
A few years ago, I had a mom call me from the Flagstaff area and said, my son's autistic. He shoots with me. I'd like him to take a 5-day 250 pistol class. Well, I'm not sure where in the spectrum he is.
Yep.
I said, bring him and let me meet him.
Yeah, smart.
Mom's very involved. He comes in and he's very typically, doesn't want to look at me and so on. You look Mr. Campbell in the eye. You shake Mr. Campbell's hand and so on. So I talked to her and I said, okay, here's what we'll do. He can take the class. You have to audit it. That means you have to be here.
Sit there. Yeah.
And at any point I can say, I'm sorry.
Right.
And I'm going to refund your tuition. It depends on maturity and so on.
Right.
So one of our longtime range masters, Charlie McNeese, is there, and Guy Corsi, and I forget who the other coach was. So what's his name? Not Dylan. Doesn't matter. He's in the class.
Okay.
He does okay. Mm-hmm. He really does. He gets what's called a certificate of completion, which means he was safe, he learned, but he can't advance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he really wanted to advance to the next level. Now, something else. Mom was able to get a grant from Arizona Department of Education to pay his tuition.
Wow.
Very aggressive mom. No, you can't get that. No, it says right here, life, health, safety, and so on.
Wow.
So they paid his tuition.
That's
great. A few
months
months later, mom comes in and says, hey, I'd like you to show you this video.
Okay.
And it's Bryson reading a statement to a school board meeting.
Really?
Auditorium. Now, it's not like us like we would talk.
Right.
But for him,
that was amazing.
It was a major thing. And I said, that's wonderful. She goes, it's because of what he learned here and the self-esteem it gave him. And it's great that we saved lives teaching people to shoot. So Bryson came back. Mom got another grant.
Mm-hmm.
Bryson came back, took another 250, got his marksman. So now he's going to come back, take 350, and mom's going to do 250. But what we did for him will impact him truly the rest of his life because the mindset, the self-esteem, and I'm so proud of our staff.
That's amazing. Something I like to say is, all this tangible shit, we can't take none of this to the grave.
Yes.
So what are we here for?
Yeah.
If relationships, what else, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, money's nice, but I mean, if it's not for, relationships like this to be able to, keep people safe, because
Yes.
something recently after October 7th that I came up with is, that we live in a civilized world, but not everybody in the world is civilized.
Nice.
That's correct.
Yeah,
I mean, we're proud of
that was great.
the gunfighters that we're producing too, or the ones that avoid it.
Right.
With the mindset part of it, because that was a big part of Jeff Cooper.
Right, to avoid it.
Pardon?
To avoid a gunfight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the best
It's
gunfight's
not
the one you don't win.
Oh my God, I'm a
Absolutely.
Gunsite grad. I can do this. No, hey, let's just walk across the street.
Right. Well, they said your mama's okay. So
Yeah.
Right.
So what?
words.
Let's go over there.
They can say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
Exactly. Too many people don't realize that. The mindset, I actually think the mindset is so much more important.
It is, and that's in our 5-day class. Wednesday morning is mindset, and that's what we focus on. We actually show the video of Jeff Cooper giving the lecture.
Wow.
Because it's I remember it when I sat through it the first time, with him, and it's great. And then we go through and present more beyond that. But if you take nothing else out of a class at Gunsite, the mindset is the most crucial thing.
Have you done any classes there? Now listen,
I have not.
I haven't either.
You know a guy.
I do. We know a guy.
I think we should go there together and
make a week of it. We should.
That would be great.
I was telling a friend of mine about this because I had a couple friends that were going out last year, and they're like, "You should go," and I'm like, I can't pull it off. Yeah. I actually did this. I had the attitude. I was like, well, if I'm gonna go to Gunsite and I'm going to go to Cooper School, I'm going to use my 1911. So I started carrying my 1911 around the house, drawing, turning the safety off, pressing the trigger, because I'm like, I know this needs to be a thing. And then I got to the point where I'm like, this trigger stuff is bullshit, or this safety stuff is bullshit. Like, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So,
Charlie.
Right. All right. So I carry a revolver. So I'm like this, turning a safety on, pushing it up, pushing it down. That's way too much work. But I did that for a week. I would love to come out.
Okay. He doesn't know a guy anymore. You do.
Oh.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So I was talking with my friends, and they're like, well, I said, if you go out, you have to take the beginner level class. And they're like, but you're not a beginner. I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
Well, because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right. And there's just so much to know out there, and we're always learning. Like you said, you took Tom Gibbons' class, right?
My buddy Dave Spalding and Rich Nance are doing a class in Ben Avery in a couple weeks. I'm there.
I love that. OGs in the industry are still doing training.
We have
who was it? Susan Smith just posted that Mossad was in her class as a student with Tom Gibbons' class.
I did not see this.
Gunsite family member Susan Smith.
Yeah. So that's just so important.
Yeah, I used to do a lot. Louis Auerbach was one of our range masters for many years. Jeff Cooper considered him one of the top 5 in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And you talk about OGs, when we lost Pat Rogers and Louis Auerbach, Pat was another range master at Gunsite.
Yep.
We lost a lot, and people say, "Oh, I wanted to take a class from him." Folks, if there's somebody you want to take a class from, the Tom Gibbons, the whoever, we're going to be there. But you need to do that. Right. And I used to work with Louis. I used to teach with him, and a gent came up one day and said, "Boy, I want this high speed, low drag, kill a commie for mommy, blah blah blah." And Louis,
so Wednesday morning's the mindset. Come for that.
Yeah, Tuesday, kill a commie.
So Louis takes his sunglasses off and he smoked. He takes the Camel out of his mouth.
Yeah,
right. And he goes, "Just what's a high speed gunfight, Slick?" And I'm thinking, well, I'm kind of taken aback. But then he goes through, like Jeff Cooper, this philosophical, esoteric discussion on it's the basics, the mastery of the basics under pressure.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's what it is. And that's what it is. It's what the master has failed more times than the novice has tried.
Absolutely.
So, no, I need something more advanced than that. Really? Do you really?
Wow. Geez, that's profound.
Well, but Louis was like that. Read his stuff. His books are out there still.
You don't know what you don't know.
No. That's
be open.
When I first went to Gunsite, I called out there and I said, "Look, I've been to Mossad Ayub, I've been to Ray Chapman, I've been to Smith and Wesson Academy." So I call, and Jeff Cooper happens to answer the phone. I said, "Look, this is who I am. These are my bona fides, and I need to start in this intermediate pistol."
Buddy.
Nope, that's not the way we do things at Gunsite. You'll start at 250, and he hung up.
I saw that coming. I
thought, you old curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I probably thought more than that.
Yeah,
but I'm being polite.
Right.
So I came out, took 250, and I did not know what I didn't know.
Mm.
And I was with one of my partners on the department, another firearms instructor. The sheriff's office sent us, and along about Tuesday or Wednesday, we're sitting in the hotel bar having a beer, saying, "Look, we need to go back to the other way. We're just not doing as well as what we thought."
Right.
We decided, no, the department spent money and time to send us here. We're going to do this, and sometimes that's the way the curve works.
Right.
And we did it, and we rocketed. The good Lord smiled on me that week. We shot till noon on Saturday then. And on Saturday morning, we shot the school drills. The good Lord smiled on me. I shot the only perfect score in my class.
Wow.
Now, it's not because I'm that good, but I was good enough to listen. Listen and do.
Valid.
And, it was funny. Dennis Tueller was one of the range masters, the Tueller drill, right? So
I know, right?
So Jeff and Dennis are coming down the line, and I'm standing at parade rest at the 3-yard line, and I got it's a clean target.
Nice.
Now, first of all, on the first morning, Jeff's like, "What caliber? What gun?" Well, my issued gun was a Smith 645, a traditional double action, a crunching ticker to him. Right? He didn't like those. Right caliber, wrong gun. Intimidated the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That's Jeff Cooper dissed my gun.
Right.
Well, anyway. He's coming down the line, and he looks over at my target, and he looks at me, just kind of scowls. I think, the hell, it's clean.
Right.
He looks back over at my target, looks at me, and looks down at my gun. I thought, here it comes.
Yeah.
Looked at me and goes, "It's the man, it's not the gun. I think we need a picture. You want to see the picture when you guys come out to Gunsite? It's hanging on my office wall. I'm grinning like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland." Awesome. But that was a proud, shining moment that obviously impacted me for sure. But I tell people this on Monday morning when I greet them: don't be that guy. And that guy's where they come in and we'll say,
"I know everything."
Hey, here's what Plum should do. This is the way I've always done it. This is the way they taught me at the department. This is the way. Why did you send us the money?
You ever think you've been doing it wrong?
Why did you send us the money? Try what we're offering. And I tell them it too. At the end of the week, if you come over to my office and convince me I tried, I listened, I learned nothing, it was a waste of time, I'll write you a check for your tuition. You want to know how many checks I write?
0.
Yeah. So here's one for you then. Let's get the hands down below. I'm going to ask a question, and you're going to put like it or don't like it. For self-defense, 1911.
I don't.
You don't count anymore.
All right.
I'll tell you why.
If you're good with it.
I'll tell you why.
Practice.
You need to, but you do that with any gun. I don't care whether revolver. You got to learn to manage that traditional double action.
That is
trigger.
valid.
My first issued gun was a Smith Model 15. 2 dump pouches, a Remington 870. Son, be real careful. With a
God be with you.
With a 1911, and that was after my sheriff went to Gunsite. That was our issued pistol up until a new sheriff a year ago, and now all the kids want the fantastic plastic.
Yeah.
So they don't, but I don't care how big you are or how small you are. We can make that gun fit your hand. Right. It's thin anyway. I can put slimline stocks, a low thumb safety, a short trigger. It'll fit the diminutive deputy's hand. I can have that miscreant of nature that's huge, and I can put a long trigger, the oversized stock, and Archmade spring housing. It fits their hand. And now, isn't it amazing for these people with the 2011 style guns? Boy, this 1911 style trigger is nice. Yeah, we've been saying that for
100 years.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So, yes, you do need to get used to working the thumb safety, but once you do, you don't even think it's like, oh, I don't remember putting my seatbelt on.
Right.
When you hit that slick spot on the road, you don't think, okay, you just do it.
Yeah.
Unconscious competence.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So that's what happens there. So it's nice that it fits everybody's hand, and it has, if you do it right, it's a great trigger. And I don't care about round number 17. I care about round number 1, round number 2, because the majority of the problems we're going to face, that will solve it. We're not going into the Mall of Mumbai. Right. But if we do, we're going to take different things, and we're going to take our friends with us to go in and deal with that. So I'm a 1911 guy, and I do have a 2011 style pistol, a Gunsite 2011 style pistol.
There's only one way you'd have it.
And so that's my answer. Now, I like Glocks. I like striker fired. My wife commonly carries a striker fired. If I didn't think they were worthwhile guns, I certainly wouldn't let her carry it.
Right. It's fair.
So, and I'm a revolver guy still.
I like revolvers. I mean, I guess my thought is, and it's if you've trained with it and you're good with it, which you should be with every gun, like you mentioned, then I'm not going to begrudge anybody. I had a guy show up at one of the classes. I was doing an armed security guard class in upstate New York, and he was having malfunction after malfunction after malfunction with his 1911. And at the end of the class, he shot the best out of everybody else in the class. But I said to him, right, like the gun doesn't work. It doesn't matter how good you shoot. And he was like,
No.
oh. So, he upgraded and got a different gun after that. So the gun's got to work. You got to be proficient with that gun when the crap hits the fan.
Yes.
And it's that training. And I'll tell students in the class, like, I don't care how Billy badass you think I am, I can be beat.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Bad guy has
There's
a good
always
day,
somebody bigger and badder.
Absolutely. And training is training. And you have the right training, and hopefully it kicks in at the right time. That's it.
The right mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And part of that training is that mindset, right? The physical, the mental, the whole
Absolutely.
the whole basket.
Absolutely. And it's not, when I was a captain, I'm an early morning guy. So I'd be coming in early in the morning, and night shift guys and gals still be there. And they'd be like, oh, boss, this happened last night. Ability, opportunity, jeopardy, all the boxes
Crime
are checked.
pyramid.
But we didn't have to do that because we did this, this, and this. That's an A+++ answer.
Yeah,
for sure. Because they use this before this, even though this would have been a legal answer.
Justified.
Yeah, they did better than that. And that's where training is critical, whether it's from Gunsite, which we want you to come to,
of course,
or whether it is Dave Spalding, Rich Nance, Tom Givens, John Farnham. But there's lots of good folks out there. Just vet your trainers carefully.
You had mentioned that as far as people saying, well, I really want to train with this person. And that's Clint Macro, my co-host on our show. We ended up hosting Tom Givens last year, and then we hosted Masada Ayub the year before that.
Oh, yeah.
Because we said that. We were like, we really want to train with the OGs in the industry to glean that knowledge from. Because there's other people out there that are taking the classes that are professing it, but you want to go to the horse's mouth. You want to get it right from the person that's been teaching it forever so that you're getting it correct. Because it's that old tree thing, like, hey, red, and by it gets to him, it's pink.
Right, telephone, right?
Yeah, telephone. Exactly.
But, the other thing about Gunsite, though, is it's not just one instructor. We've got about 65 part-time instructors. We bring it from all over the country. They're 99% of them are military, law enforcement, active duty, retired, or both.
Okay.
So they've seen the elephant, as Jeff would say, but it's very hard to become a Gunsite instructor. We have a process you have to go through.
For sure.
Not everybody makes it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's
but
good.
That way,
That's integrity.
So that way, you can get a different take. And each class will have 2 to 3 instructors. We keep a ratio of 1 instructor to 4 students on the firing line.
Okay.
That way you're getting good attention. But if I can't reach them with my teaching method, maybe yours will, or the 3 of us put our heads together so we can reach that person and make them run faster and jump higher.
Well, like, the classes you've taken, Charlie, too. I mean, you're taking classes and you're an instructor. And when you get out of the class, I don't think I very rarely, if ever, have said, yeah, I didn't learn anything.
Oh, totally.
Just another way to do it, say it.
A few years ago, I did, being in New England, I went up to SIG Academy.
Good place.
Yeah. And I took the handgun 101 class, and the lady says, what are you looking for? I'm like, I don't go in, whatever. I go in, I'm like, hey.
I'm Charlie Cook.
Right. I'm a guy with a gun. That's all I'm here for.
Yeah.
But I said, what I really want is I want to find a wetter bay. Right. I want to find a better way to tell people how to hold the slide to rack the slide back. Yeah. That's all I'm looking for.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking for this.
Yeah, a specific thing. That's good.
And if you can get nuggets,
that's it.
That's what you're going to do. When we'll get experienced people, firearms instructors will come take our level 1 class is called 250. It's like a college class.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, look, your job is to keep those cargo pockets full of ammo. And when your relay's not shooting, instead of running back to the shot shed, stand out here so you can listen and you steal every teaching technique, every style, every joke, whatever, so you can take that back and use it. That's what you paid the money for.
Yeah.
We don't own it all.
Yeah.
So, and it seems to work, but again, the onus is on you.
Would you agree that that analogy that I like to use, and I'm assuming you're going to agree with this, is like a vehicle. We drive a vehicle on a daily basis. We get really good with driving the vehicle. We can pretty much do it without thinking about it, and kind of like cruise control, right? The easy way to do it without thinking about it at all. But we don't really do that, or a lot of people don't do that with a gun. They don't. They shove it in a holster and hope you never need it, and hope God's on your side when you do need it. So the training aspect of that should be just like the vehicle, though. The vehicle we do on a daily basis because we have to.
Right. The people that buy the gun shoot it 12 times and they hide it in their underwear drawer,
waiting,
because when the time comes, they will rise to the occasion, and that's you default to your level of training is what happens.
Yep, lowest level of training, right?
Yeah,
how
correct.
Goes.
So the training is crucial and ongoing training.
Yep.
You can't just say I went to school once and you got to get some rounds downrange. Quality rounds downrange.
For sure.
Right. What I like to say is you could learn how to golf with Tiger Woods. Right, but if you go golfing twice a year, you're gonna suck.
Right? That's a waste of a rifle range.
I'm with you. I used to tell people, you know what I like about golfing? The same thing I like about fishing, and that's smoking cigars.
Sometimes that's hunting for me, like sitting in the woods doing nothing but looking at the sun.
I take my bow for a romantic walk in the woods, climb up a tree stand, read a book, drop take a nap. Then wonder what the hell I'm doing.
I don't do tree stands because I fall asleep, and even though I got the safety strap on, I don't want to be hanging there from my buddies coming and laughing at me and
waking up. You're in a hammock. What are you doing up there?
Right.
Yeah, I ground hunt, but no, I agree. It's you got to keep getting the training. And how many law enforcement do you know that showed up and it's qualification or whatever it is? I just want to pass. I hate that.
It's scary because, they're more like, well, I shouldn't say more likely, but on a daily basis out in the street doing, the most dangerous things is traffic stops and domestic violence. And you're going to rise to the occasion now, buddy? Maybe not.
I want you more than to just pass. Yeah. Or I'd have guys show up and say, we're going to do shotgun. Okay, let me get, no, as it is right now. Well, I don't have it all loaded. Well,
okay.
You're going to have a heck of a time on the course of fire.
Right, absolutely.
Because how it is how we're starting.
Right.
Or my rack doesn't work anymore. Did you tell a sergeant or anybody?
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Come on, guys. Let's.
Yeah. I had a guy contact me a bunch of years ago and called me up and started asking me questions and saying, hey, do you work with students? Do you teach them how to shoot? Like, do you do the fundamentals? And I'm like, yeah, I teach new students. And then he comes out and says he's on one of the local SWAT teams. He didn't do well in his qualification and wants me to treat him like a beginner. I'm like, okay, cool. So I got some A-Zoom dummy 45s.
Nice.
Yep.
Because I didn't have a 45 at the time, but I got some of those. He brought his M&P and 45, and we go shooting low and left, right? And so I'm like, dude, I put the dummy rounds in, did the ball and dummy trick, bang, bang, click.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the problem right there. And he's like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. And then he's like, I think it's the gun. So I'm like, will you try it?
Here.
Right. So I'm like, oh my God. Front sight, press, front sight, press, front sight, press. Almost 3 bullseyes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not the gun, man. Yeah. It's you.
So, I like, and I'll take it in my.
How much do I pay you?
I'll take it in my support hand.
Yeah, even more.
Right. And I said, no, I don't think it's the sights.
One-handed.
I might do a little better with my strong hand here. Just trust me on this.
Yeah.
Right.
I would have.
That's funny.
A neighboring county sheriff got a hold of me. We were at a conference or whatever, and he said, look, I got this one person my instructors are fed up, and we were doing a 3-day Gunsite offsite, and I said, send them. So the deputy shows up, and I said, look, I want you to understand, I'm friends with your boss. I'm not here to get you fired. I'm here so he's got to buy me a steak dinner.
I love it.
I'm here
awesome.
to make you succeed.
Yeah.
And it was a gal. We worked with her. Now, she wasn't Robbie Latham when she left,
right?
But she could pass easily, and that's what we're looking for. And I never let him forget it either.
Of course.
And you still owe me the steak dinner.
Yeah. Steak dinner's still out there.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up with this guy, I ran into him 6 months later at a store. He came up. He's like, "Hey, are you Charlie Cook?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah,
why? What have you heard?
Right. No, exactly. I used to play in a band. What did you
do you have a warrant?
Yeah, right. No carton.
And he says, "Look, I was the police officer that contacted you. We went shooting. You ready for this? I've been dry firing, and my shooting is improving." Whoa!
It's like the television ministry.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And every penny spent well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. We need to wrap it up. It looks
do.
like we've been an hour.
Yep.
Where can people find you? And
Gunsite.com, Gunsite.com. You can email me direct. It's pretty complicated. Ken, Ken, at Gunsite.com. Right, but reach out to us. But on the web, if you go to Gunsite.com, everything you need to know about us, the classes, the prices, lodging,
Nice.
everything. It's very comprehensive.
Mhm.
So take a look, shoot us off an email. We'll answer your questions, and we love having folks out.
all right, we need to come out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. This has been a pleasure.
Well,
All right,
how
Charlie.
I close things.
Okay.
When are you coming to Gunsite?
Ooh, I like that. Charlie, ready?
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will thank you for watching all the shows that we've been doing here at Live at SHOT Show. You're doing a giveaway tomorrow, right?
I'm doing it. Tomorrow is Friday already.
Already.
Yeah. Yes, I'm doing a giveaway. We got the shot show giveaway. So check out our sponsors. MeetThePressers.com/bingo, and you can see what sponsors are a part of it. Go to their booth and you can register for the giveaways. We're doing those giveaways. Active Self Protection. John and Neil are part of that, so they're giving away a year's subscription to it. So $2,600 in prizes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I'll be here doing that.
I will be on an airplane
know you
somewhere over the middle of nowhere.
I know you will. So.
All right. We thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Thank you.